so amazing. Like it feels so amazing. And that alone will keep me creating for life.
Hello, we're here at Sun Sounds of Arizona in Flagstaff, Arizona, and welcome to episode 8 of Untamed Shrews, Women Talk Theater. I'm Dawn.
I'm Becki.
And I'm Hannah, and welcome to today's episode. I cannot believe it. I am blown away that it is month 8 of this podcast, and we are just so happy to be here and so honored that you guys out there are still listening to us.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun getting to chat and getting to talk with other people and getting to talk more with you two.
Yeah.
Yay. So today we are joined by our friend and colleague, Raquel McKenzie.
Welcome, Raquel. Raquel, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your position at Flag Shakes?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Raquel. I am a Jamaican native, Chicago-raised actor, and a Phoenix transplant, as there are many transplants here. I've been doing theater forever. I think that's the normal story. And that's what brought me across the country is theater. And I started doing Shakespeare down in the Valley, and I guess got lucky and found my way to Flagstaff. And now I'm the equality and casting assistant there, as well as an actor. And I love every minute of it.
Yay. Actually, yeah, I want to know, did you find us or did we find you? I totally forget. We did Malfi. How did we find you?
Actually, Dawn found me.
Oh, how?
Nice.
Yeah. So we were auditioning for Duchess of Malfi, and I think it was Much Ado About Nothing was auditioning from Phoenix.
Okay.
So this is when we used to run one show out of Phoenix and one show out of Flagstaff. And I told Jesse, like, after auditions, I was like, please send me any of the actors that you thought were phenomenal, but that you don't have a place for. And he sent me Raquel and Keandra, and maybe a couple other people, but I hired Raquel and Keandra. So I actually saw Raquel's audition, like a video audition first on her website. Same thing with Keandra. That's how I saw hers. And I was like, she is Ferdinand. She's going to be the perfect Ferdinand. She has to play Ferdinand. And so then I reached out and I was like, how do we get you up here? So that's how the whole thing started.
Yay.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was 2019.
I think
Yeah.
that sounds
Yep.
right.
Yeah. And then Raquel, you've also done other shows with us, right?
Yes. So I just did Midsummer and Hamlet this past summer season, and that was great to just get back into the swing of things after, the whole shutdown of theater in the world.
Yeah.
So it was really good to be back on a stage with a live audience.
Yay. Yeah, we love having you, and I've had people come up to me like, who is that gorgeous woman? Oh my gosh, I can't even, like, that girl who played Hermia, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Find Raquel on Instagram.
Yeah, seriously. You are kind of Instagram famous.
And then you'll just drool over her entire Instagram
Raquel's
page.
beauty.
I love you guys so much.
It's so beautiful.
So that's a pretty good little segue into what we're basically talking about today, the overarching umbrella. We're going to be talking about being a multi-hyphenate artist today. So that's kind of a phrase that I've grown to love. Becki is actually the one who introduced it to me, but I know, I know it to be just kind of a colloquial term for artists who, well, in the theater world at least, you're not just an actor. So you're other things. Maybe you're also a stage manager, or you're also a props designer, or a costume designer, or an administrator. But it can really stretch, I think, into like any artistic endeavor. So I was curious, Raquel, what are the different hyphens that you identify as an artist?
Oh, Nelly. Okay.
So many.
How do I count?
It's so weird because I was like, I'm going to be an actor. I'm just going to be an actor. And then I was like, well, I'm good at other things, huh? I probably should do that too. So I act, I direct, I dance, I sing. Most people don't know that I'm also a poet and self-published as well.
Woo.
I model, I design and style for photo shoots. And I think that's it.
And now you're an administrator.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm an administrator. I also was a teaching artist, and I'm going to start teaching again, but poetry instead of theater this time.
Fun.
So yeah, a lot of beautiful artistic things.
That's
And
awesome.
You can catch one of Raquel's beautiful poems at the end of our
yeah.
I Too Sing America video, which is free on YouTube. So
Yeah.
if you want to hear her beautiful poetry, hit that up.
Yeah. And
Yes.
Raquel did direct that.
Yes, she directed it. She cast it.
Yeah.
She did so many things.
She performed in it. She wrote for it.
Awesome. Could we maybe, I want to hear Becki and Dawn, what are your hyphens that you sort of identify as?
Oh man, yeah. I feel like Raquel, it started off with I'm going to be an actor. That's the thing I'm going to
Totally.
do. And then I found I really just loved teaching. Raquel, I loved teaching poetry when I taught poetry. So I'm super excited for you. It's so fun. And then, just in building Flag Shakes, I accidentally became an administrator, which I was really bad at and stressed out by for the first 2 or 3 years, and now I feel like I own it. I feel like I'm, in that position, and like I actually really like it. This is something I've talked about with a good friend of mine who's an aerialist and has an aerial nonprofit company, that she and I both kind of feel like we found out later that we were really good at facilitating art and producing art, and that is really important and just as worthy to do. But I think for a while as an artist, and especially as someone who like grows up telling themselves like, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be on the stage, like it can be a hard moment to transition to, I'm actually going to be filling out like transaction spreadsheets and emailing people
And
about
signing checks.
Yes, and signing checks.
Emailing and emailing and emailing.
Emailing
And just a
so many
continuous list of
people.
emails.
I'm a professional emailer.
Totally, though.
But I think once you kind of figure out like that is its own art, and that takes a really specific skill set, then you can be really proud of it. So I also do that. And then obviously I'm also a trapeze artist. So, or I consider myself more of a trapeze instructor. I anticipate my students will grow up to be trapeze artists, but they're starting a good 23 years before I did. So,
Valid.
so yeah, trapeze also, and then I think that's really probably the full scope of it.
Cool.
Right.
Bex?
Well, actor, stage manager, production manager, I guess like pseudo administrator too. There are some crossover duties. Tangentially trapeze artist. I've just started taking classes this summer, which I'm continuing with. But again, like both you, Raquel and Dawn, growing up, it was acting or bust. And then in college, it was like, oh, there's other things I could do that I didn't necessarily realize were full jobs, that were full career paths, rather. And after I graduated was when I really started getting into stage management. And when I did that, I felt like I had to hide that I was also an actor. And I felt like I couldn't be a stage manager and something else. And then I realized nobody gives a shit. Yeah. Like, how many directors do we know who are also choreographers or lighting designers who are sound designers or these people who are also this thing? And it's like, nobody cares. And I was just like putting that onto myself. And now it's very freeing to not feel like I have to hide, which I don't have to.
You have the freedom to do other things.
Yeah. And also, like, how many people do you actually know who are only doing one, thing in theater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. I know, Hannah, we're going to talk about your multi-hyphens, but now I'm just really curious, like, if we could table the question of, like, have you felt like you had to hide anything?
Ooh, yes,
Because I
tabled.
definitely have had exactly the same feeling. So I'd love to circle back to Raquel once you do your multi-hyphens and be like, Raquel, have you felt like any of this was, like, mutually exclusive? That's such a fascinating thing, and I wonder why we feel that way. But anyway, Hannah.
Okay, so that is so funny. I also want to table back to this. We all thought it was acting or bust. So same story, acting or bust. And it was funny because like I always ignored my father all through college, especially. He was like, Hannah, Hannah, baby girl, you're going to run a theater company. I was like, no, Dad, I'm only going to be an actor. So now he's like, ha ha.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, joke's on you. So yes, obviously acting. I'm our marketing director. But I feel like, yeah, I'm so many other tiny things. I'm a choreographer. I'm a dancer. I'm a singer. I'm also an aerialist. I also find so much joy producing this podcast. So I guess I'm now a podcaster. What else? Costume design. I do a ton of costume design.
Did you say marketing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Marketing. But I mean, yeah, that to me is like arts administration in general. So
sure.
like that whole sort of like, I'm just like helping keep our nonprofit theater alive. So that kind of it's all at once. I think that's everything. Yeah. So shall we table or go back to the table?
Go back to the table. Yeah. So Raquel, I'm really curious. Have you always felt like it was, acceptable or like it was fine to just say like, here are all the things I want to do in theater? Or were there any parts of that like multi-hyphened career path where you were like, ooh, I better not tell anyone that I'm a model while I'm, working in a fashion booth or like, is there anything like that?
Kind of, but not exactly. So growing up, I was always a kid that did everything. So I was like student council, debate team, chess club, like dance team, everything. And my mom used to say, because, I love to do everything. And I get that from her because she was a dancer as well. And she used to say, don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And when she said that, I was like, oh, snap. Like, I want to be great at something. I just don't want to be like mediocre at everything. And so I tabled a lot of things. I was like, I even used to play basketball and run track, like, and well. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it as a track star. My heart's not in it. I'm not going to do basketball. I'm going to focus on theater, and like dance kind of was like a part of that. And then once I got out of college, everything else kind of found me. Like I had no intentions of ever being a director until someone was like, oh, you're a leader. So, and theater front and back and you teach other actors. That's kind of like directing already. And I was like, oh, could I actually do that? And then I did it for like 6 or 7 years. And so it was just it made me proud, but I always wanted to go slow so I didn't drop the ball. Because I think that's my greatest fear, is dropping the ball at something. And then when I started modeling, it's funny because a lot of my model friends don't know that I act, and vice versa. So when they find out, they're like, are you in a commercial right now? Like,
yes, that random commercial you two showed me. I was like, what the heck? That's my friend Raquel.
I know. I saw your bank commercial just like watching something and I was like, oh, it's Raquel. Wow.
And
I know a famous lady.
Someone said that. It makes me feel really cool. And it's also really humbling. So I'm like, you never know when you're going to get another commercial or get another show or book another photo shoot, but it's always a blessing. So it's just like really humbling every time I get to do something like that. The only time that I keep things separate is like recently I've had to get like a quote unquote normal person job. And that was hard for me because I was so proud of being a full-time artist for like almost 10 years that I was like, oh God, is something wrong with me now that I like can't be just a full-time artist? Yeah. And then I thought like, no, because my parents are immigrants and they came to this country to work hard for me to like live a better life. And I shouldn't turn up my nose at anything because then all their hard work is in vain. So I should do everything I possibly can to have that life and like provide for other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got over it.
Yes. So something you said that like really jostled something in my brain is like the thought of imposter syndrome. And I'm sure we've all felt it, but like the first time I like definitely felt it was when I like stepped into directing for the first time. And I definitely, what reminded me, Raquel, is what you said about like, can I do that? And it's like, well, yeah, I can. Like, I am a good leader. I know how a show runs. I have a good eye for stage pictures, and I have a good eye for staging, and I'm also a choreographer. Like, yeah, I could do that. Like, I know how to direct people, I think. So let me give it a go. And I think honestly, like, that's how I view multi-hyphenates, is like, we just tried something and then discovered that we were actually pretty dang good at it. And then that just kind of kept adding to our resume of like, oh, actually, yeah, like I am a really good blah, blah, blah. And then I just kept doing it. And that led me to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. But have you guys experienced imposter syndrome, and what can we do to not feel that way?
Yes.
Oh, so hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thought process is similar to you, Hannah, just in that I just remind myself, like, okay, I have done this, or I've done something similar to this, maybe on a smaller scale, or just, in a different way, and now I can expand the way that I'm doing it, or something like that. And I just try and like talk myself kind of into it, like, no, like I can do this, I have done this, or where it's something like, or I'll learn.
Right.
One of my biggest things was when I came onto the production manager role here and leading production meetings. And there were moments where I was like, I don't have anything to say. Like, why are we holding this meeting? And then I was like, wait a minute. It's not just for me. Like, there are other people on this production team, and they have questions that they need answered. So I'm like,
You're like, I'm good. Why are we
yeah,
having this
like, I have
meeting?
no questions.
I'm set.
Yeah, I think I already touched on it a little, but it was just at the beginning of this company for me. I've really felt like an imposter. Like, who am I to start a theater company? Who am I to call myself the executive director of a theater company? And I really didn't know so much. Like, I had to learn on the fly a lot of things. And then at that point, the company was so new that job was also production manager, marketing director, casting. Like, it was all of your, like, all three of your jobs also at the same time. And some of them I adjusted really well to and learned. And then some of them I had to cull out and find other people who could do them. Right. And I think that, I don't know, I think there's a lot to be said for giving ourselves grace, like, does it have to be that we are, I don't know how to phrase this correctly, but you have that imposter feeling. It might be accurate about some aspects of what you're doing. And so your willingness to just say, like, that's not for me and I'm not good at it and I'm going to stop trying. I think I've worked at a lot of theater companies where if some of the people in charge had just said to themselves, like,
this isn't my thing,
I'm not really good at this and no one likes it when I'm doing it, and stepped into what they were good at, they would have been happier, the company would have been healthier, everything would have gone so much better. But you don't know till you try. So you should give yourself grace to, like, try and see, like, can you do it or can you not do it? And then just give up what you can't do. But yeah, and I also find, like, Raquel was talking about, someone looked at her and said, like, you can direct, you did all these other things. Like, we all need that person in our life who's looking at us from the outside and going, like, well, like Hannah, I gave Hannah her first directing gig. I was like, you can do this. Don't worry about it.
And you were literally the one who was like, you're going to be our marketing director. And I was like, I am?
I was like, you've got this. So I think that's a really important thing. It's just like, if someone else sees it in you, like, trust it. They're probably right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Totally. Raquel, I'm curious, like, with all these different things you do, how do you stay motivated and fulfilled and energized when you wear so many different hats? And how do you switch between, all these different things? And if there are people out there who are like, I wear, within the theater world, I do so many things. How do I stay focused? How do I stay fulfilled when I'm not necessarily always acting or always directing or always doing a certain thing?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I like that might be nerdy, but I like lists. Like, I always have a checklist for everything. It keeps me focused. I also have an agenda that I keep with me. Anyone who's ever told me anything, I'm like, if I don't write it in my agenda, it's not a real thing.
Ooh, I identify.
Because, like, if I don't see it, because I'm not as young as I used to be. So my brain is just no longer doing the gymnastics it takes to remember everything. So I write things down to make sure I stay on top of things. And as an artistic person, like I love being on stage, right? So if I can't act, I'm like, all right, time to start doing some poetry. Oh, I can't do that. What else can I do to feed that like creative hunger that I have? And then I started, creating because I love doing DIY. So then I started, creating like my custom jackets and things like that. So I always think staying on top of your work to keep things organized, to keep your meetings organized. There are some times where like I'll have a class and then I'll have a meeting and then I go to work and then I come back and I check emails at like midnight for this.
Oh, I hate that I do that.
But I want to make sure work gets done. So I'm like, hey, if I got to check emails at midnight, I just have to do it, or I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'd rather check them at midnight than 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So definitely keeping organized and realizing what feeds your artistic side and always finding ways to feed that. And then taking a break. I run myself into the ground. I always end up getting so sick because I'm going too fast because I never want to disappoint people. But then I disappoint people because I can't like work anymore because like I've run myself into the ground.
Yeah.
So take a day, if nothing else, take one day to just do nothing or like get your nails done or have wine or whatever it is that calms you. Take care of yourself and your body and your mental. It is so, so, so important.
Yeah.
And not to jump back, but Raquel, you'd mentioned that you repurpose jackets. And I just want to say to our listeners that I purchased one a couple weeks ago, and it's so cool. I get so many compliments every time I wear it.
Thank you so much for supporting me. It always means so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for your art.
For creating it.
Yeah.
And what I loved that you said was like, oh, I can't act right now. Let me work on my poetry. Like I was like, this is kind of something I'm going through because, a show just closed and I may not be in a show for a few months or upward of, maybe even 6 or more. I was like, okay, so what am I going to work on? Like, I want to work on my like one woman cabaret show, or like, I'm going to work on this. I haven't, worked on like my audition book for a while. Like maybe I should work on a few new monologues, or, oh, maybe I should focus on, let me like take some more dance classes because I haven't focused on dance in a while. Like I've been acting. I can't necessarily right now. Okay, what can I do that's like in my other hyphens that I can like focus on while I'm not necessarily waiting. That's the wrong word, but while you're not actively acting anymore.
Well, this kind of reminds me of what you were saying before, Hannah, how we all started off with the idea of like actor or bust. The problem with that is that there's very little control in that. Right? You have to wait for a part. You have to audition for a part. You have to try to find a part. And we're all very take charge women. And so I can see how that would easily lead to being multi-hyphenated because you're like, well, I'm not just going to sit and wait for someone to throw something to me. Like I have a lot of talents and I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something right now.
In college, I just remember so often being told, like, if you find that you're not being cast, write your own stuff. And like, then you can just perform your own stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, oh, but even in that, well, now I'm the writer. Now maybe I'm the director, or maybe I brought someone else on. I'm the producer. I'm X, Y, and Z. And it's not just acting all the time 24/7.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that was like a huge thing with the pandemic, because people were like, okay, what do I work on right now to at least like when theater does come back, how am I better? Like, oh, did I learn how to play an instrument? So now I can play, an instrument in a show, or did I like really work on my singing voice, or maybe I like really, really prepped for a bunch of auditions or whatever it happens to be. So.
Or even just survive.
I was going
to say, or gardened and drank a lot of
beer. Watched a lot of Netflix. Read a lot of books.
Yeah. Which goes back to what Raquel was saying about self-care. And I read something lately that was so profound for me, which was like, instead of asking yourself, like, why am I being so lazy today? What you need to ask yourself is like, why does my body need rest today? Or why does my mind need rest today? And then just like take it. I think we are pretty bad at that in a lot of ways, just in our culture, but then especially in the theater.
Yeah.
I think the idea is like, if you're not doing something something right now. Like it's
And as type A women who want to take charge. No, literally, I saw this meme the other day that was like, on my day off, how could I relax more productively? Which I identify with so much.
So, Raquel, I've got another question.
Yes.
What do you think, or what do you find like are the benefits for you for being a multi-hyphenate? Or what, like, I guess, other joys do you get out of not like limiting yourself just to one thing?
I get to keep creative and creating, and the discovery is it's crazy to think about, like, oh, I also get to realize that, like, my dad's right, which kind of sucks when your parents are right. He's all like, you should produce things. You should do a one-woman show. You should direct. And slowly but surely I've done like directing and producing. And I was like, oh, geez. This is gonna be like a told you so.
But how wonderful that he like wanted those things for you and wasn't like, no, you need to be in business or you need to or like corporate America or whatever. But he was like,
You need to be a lawyer.
Very supportive. And at first, like when I told my parents I was going to study theater, they were flabbergasted. And I tell this to everyone. And I mean, I love my parents, but I think this is funny. And they were like, but you're smart. And I was like, whoa, I feel attacked. It was because I was a Black woman immigrant who was good at math and science and chose to do theater for my major. So they were just like, wait, what? But they knew I'm a strong-minded person. So I was going to do it no matter what. And I was like, there is no plan B. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this professionally. And so they just got on board right away. And my dad, one thing he always says, he's just like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Keep working, keep working. And to him, he realizes this is a business. It is a business to know how to do your own taxes, which gives me heartburn every year. It is a business. Like we are our business. And so I remember that part of it as well, but it's a business that I love. Like I get to have fun as my business. I don't have to be miserable. I get to create, I get to make people look at me. How awesome is that? Or like, share my art and have someone say, oh, wow, like you made this? Yeah, I want it for myself. And I'm like, what? Like you want something I created? It's so amazing. Like it feels so amazing. And that alone will keep me creating for life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. Well,
getting all sappy. Sorry.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I've known so many people who didn't have that from their parents, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that you did. I think that support is invaluable. And yes, somehow those dads.
I know. I just said
stuff.
that my dad was like, you're going to do this. And I was like, no, Dad.
My dad used to always tell me, he's like, you need a plan B. You'd be a great teacher. And I was like, I'm never going to teach. And then I love teaching. What is up with those guys?
What's up with those guys?
Dads. So we're almost out of time, Raquel. So I just wanted to give you a chance really quick to just plug the fabulous work you're doing with Resurrecting the Renaissance. Do you just want to say, we only have like 30 seconds left, but do you just want to say what that is and how people can find it?
Yes, I'll go really quick. Resurrecting the Renaissance is basically bringing back the Harlem Renaissance. It's the centennial of when it started in Harlem. It's a way of uplifting Black voices in the art community and Black actors and performers in the Valley and just giving them a little bit of light. It is being produced through Southwest Shakespeare Company, so you can find it on their site. If you follow me on Instagram at Kells Broadway, you can find it there as well.
Sweet. Thank you. That was really succinct.
Yeah. But just in general, you kind of mentioned it, but how can people find you if they want to, see your work, maybe, commission your work, buy something?
Yeah. So not Facebook, just because I have my family on there. So if you find me on Facebook, unless it's my actor page, don't have a page. So I have a Raquel McKenzie Facebook. I have Kells Broadway, which is Kellz Broadway, like the street. That's where I post a lot of my modeling and acting as well. And then I have Styled by Kells, which is also linked. And that's where I do all of my styling for photo shoots. I do all of my creations, jackets, all denim basically. So if you want to commission a piece, or if you need a stylist for a photo shoot, for whatever you need it for, I'm available at either one of those Instagrams.
And how about your poetry? What's your poetry book called?
Oh, so it's called Tornado. And that I sell through my website, which I totally forgot to tell everyone about, raquelmckenzie.org. Easy to find. I also have my fashion stuff on there, though, as well. So Tornado, it's a small chapbook, which basically means there's about 10 poems. So it's a very easy read. They're all different categories. So some about love, some about, social issues, and some about family and loss and trauma as well. So if you want to, experience my little tornado, you can find that on my website.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yay. Look at us go, being multi-hyphenate women. Doing so much stuff. Thank you, Raquel. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this month's episode of Untamed Shrews. I'm Hannah.
I'm Dawn.
And I'm Becki.
Join us next month for a silly grab bag episode with just us shrews. We haven't done a just shrew episode in a while. Stay tuned for funny anecdotes and stories we have from over the years as theater artists and administrators. We will also be collecting questions from you listeners out there. So if you have a question, let us know on our Facebook or our Instagram.
Follow the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival on Instagram at FlagShakes and on Facebook at facebook.com/Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. All episodes of Untamed Shrews can be found on sunsounds.org, the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
This episode of Untamed Shrews, starring Dawn Tucker, Becki Zaritsky, Hannah Fonts, and Racquel McKenzie. Show art by Calliope Luedeker. Podcast theme song by Cadence Lamb. Podcast edited by Hannah Fonts. Special thanks to Gina Byars.
Bye.
Bye.
Every time.
No, Dad, I'm only going to be an actor.
So now he's like, ha ha ha.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, joke's on you.